Thank you all very much. It's good to be back home in Guilford County. Let me make a personal comment about Harold Martin, this great chancellor, and talk personally to the students here at A&T University. You've got the best in Harold Martin. I've known him for over 30 years. My dad, Matt McCrory, who was an engineer right down the street at Gilbarco, introduced the two of us because my dad was on his advisory board here at North Carolina A&T University. And my dad used to tell the two of us when we were both young then, Harold, that every one of us have a divinity within us, an opportunity within us, certain skills within us. And whatever we have to do, we have to all fulfill our potential. And my dad repeated this to myself and Harold time and time again, that every individual has this divinity within us, and we need to fulfill that potential. And that's our calling, is to fulfill and to see that potential and have a purpose in life and make a difference. And I never would have realized 30 years later when my dad used to tell the two of us that he would now be chancellor of this great university and then I'd be governor of the greatest state in the United States of America. And what an honor it is for me to stand on the stage with such a distinguished individual in our state as Harold Martin. We're also right here in the heart of Teacher Appreciation Week. So if we're going to fulfill our potential and ensure that every member of the next generation and future generations in North Carolina fulfill their potential, we can't just appreciate teachers for 1 week throughout each year. We've got to appreciate teachers for generations to come every week of the year. And this is the beginning of that process, to appreciate teachers and realize that teachers have such an important role in our future economic development and the future development of every student in North Carolina. Now, teachers personally right here in Guilford County have made a big impact on my life. Ruth Revels, who many of you saw on TV commercials during last year, she's going to pin a gold star on me. She's now in her early 80s and still extremely active, in fact active in my administration, head of Indian Cultural Affairs. There's a road named after her husband here in Greensboro, the Lonnie Revels Drive. And Ruth played a special part as a role model teacher for me at Ragsdale High School. Roger Chance, who I just touched base with for the first time over email in recent months, who was my history and civics teacher, who really got me ingrained in understanding government. In fact, he wrote my speech for me when I ran for student body president at Ragsdale High School. Roger, if you're listening, hello. You've still made an impact on me many, many years later. And the late T.G. Madison, who was my principal at Ragsdale High School here in Guilford County, who just passed away within the past week and a half. His heart is still with me. My hearts and prayers are with his family, but T.G. Madison right here in Guilford County had a big impact on many, many generations of kids who were taught under him and where he was a leader in a school. And we've also realized that principals are such an important part of our schools in supporting teachers. So T.G., we're here in your spirit because you've made a difference to so many people. We're also here to honor a promise that we made just a few short months ago at Ragsdale High School, where I was with leaders of the state, where we announced a plan where no teacher in North Carolina in the next 2 years will make less than $35,000 a year. But we also promised that more announcements would come in the future. And today, those announcements are about to happen. Because we've been listening to teachers, we've been listening to principals, we've been listening to superintendents, and my gosh, they give a lot of feedback, let me tell you. They are not hesitant to give you feedback. And we've been listening to public officials because we all care about education, we all care about teachers, and we want our schools to succeed. And so in listening to this feedback, while also going through the very, very difficult process of going through a very, very tough budget process with our budget director, which I've been doing about every day for the past 4 weeks, we had to make some very difficult decisions. And in making these difficult decisions, our priority is on education. And therefore, I'd like to make several announcements, 4 major announcements on what we're going to put on our budget regarding education. actually 5 announcements regarding education from pre-K to 12. The first thing is this, is one piece of feedback that I hear from superintendents, and I hear from Aldona Voss, my Secretary of Health and Human Services, and I hear from parents all over North Carolina, is that if we're going to have successful students, we've got to expand early childhood education. It is so important. If a student starts behind in school, they usually end up being behind throughout their career and throughout their life. And therefore, in my budget, we will provide an additional $3.6 million to expand early childhood education in North Carolina. The second announcement we're making in our budget is this, is that we were hoping, and we're still hoping, to have a transformation to hard book textbooks to more digital technology. And we put more money into digital technology last year, and we're doing it this year. But I've also heard from these superintendents behind me and many in the audience that this transformation is not going to just take place overnight. We still need textbooks. And they gave me very strong feedback that textbooks were underfunded throughout North Carolina last year, and it put a tremendous strain on schools and teachers and principals throughout North Carolina. June Atkinson, you gave me this feedback very strong. She lobbied me, and so did the Lieutenant Governor, because he's heading up a digital future for textbooks. But it just doesn't happen overnight, because we got to do it right. We got to do it right. So to make sure students this coming year have the materials they need to have a good education, our budget will double state funding for textbooks, raising the total amount to $46 million in this year's budget for textbooks. We think that's good news. Now, we announced base pay for 1 through 7 years of experience for teachers at Ragsdale High School several months ago. And there's been concern about whether or not we could make that promise, because the budget has been very tough. So the third announcement is we fully intend to keep that promise of this new base pay for teachers, where there will be no teacher in North Carolina within the next 2 years that will make less than $35,000 a year, regardless of where they live and work in the teaching profession in North Carolina. We're going to continue to follow through with that commitment based upon this budget. But after making an announcement, boy, did I hear from a lot of other teachers. And they said, what about us? And believe me, we knew they would ask that, but we've been through the budget, and we've been making decisions since that point in time, and actually making some very tough decisions within my administration not to fill positions, to save money, so we could have money available for all teachers and state employees in North Carolina. So I'm pleased to announce that my budget, which I'll be presenting to the legislature in the next week, we're recommending that teachers can expect to see an average raise of 2%. And of course, with those receiving the base pay, those will receive up to possibly 7% if they have up to 7 years of teaching. So every teacher will get, teachers can expect to see an average raise of 2% in addition to the base pay of those teachers getting 7%. And that's good. We'd like to do more, but that's a start. I'd also like to say for all state employees will receive a flat raise of $1,000, including benefits, which will be an average of 2% for state employees. There's a special emphasis. One reason we wanted to give all $1,000, including benefits, is that those who are making less than $50,000, it'll be a much more positive impact on them. So every state employee will have $1,000 more, including benefits, to help them. Again, I know that's not as much as you want or need, but it's a beginning. And we're fulfilling that commitment for all state employees because they deserve this money. They're working hard. They're under a lot of work, stress. They're putting in incredible hours, and we're trying to do everything we can in tough budget circumstances to put more money in their pocket, and it starts with this budget right now. Now, I think the most important announcement we're making today is for the long term, because we can do the short-term raises for state employees and for teachers, but if we don't have a long-term plan, especially in the education community, we're not going to have teachers who commit to education for a lifetime, and we're not going to be able to recruit great students like we have here at North Carolina A&T to say, you know what, I want to study to become an educator. I want to study to become a teacher. This is my profession. This is my calling. This is fulfilling my potential. And so therefore, we need to develop a long-term plan on how do we plan to pay and in what method do we plan to reward the teaching profession for generations to come in North Carolina. And we've been working with the superintendents and the principals and Eric Buchan, who's my great education advisor. I'm so pleased to have him here. He's been listening. I've been listening to you. And we're announcing a career pathway for teachers, a new model on how we reward the teaching profession in North Carolina. And again, while the short term is important, we must look to the future to innovate our archaic teacher pay scale in North Carolina that's been around for generations. The current pay plan is old, it's outdated, and it doesn't frankly work in the 21st century. We're paying based upon 20th century platform and guidelines. We're now in the 21st century, and let's come up with a system that meets that criteria. We have no long-term pay plan for our teachers, and that ends today in our budget. That's why we are proposing a change to the professional pay schedule that will allow teachers to earn more sooner based upon a variety of factors. This career pathways for teachers will focus on several areas. One is it will reward experience, which is very important. The more experience you have, the more wisdom you have, and the more you can help other teachers. It will also reward performance, because performance does matter. So I don't care what school you went to. We all knew who the good teachers were. The principals knew who the good teachers were. The students knew who the good teachers were. The parents knew who the good teachers were, because some, frankly, just performed at a higher level and had greater results. And we need to take in consideration performance. The other thing that we have to consider in this future career pathways plan is hard-to-staff schools. Frankly, there are some schools in North Carolina that are hard to recruit good teachers, and our pay scale should adjust based upon that, just like the private sector does. And the other thing that we're looking at is market-based subjects and leaderships when determining salaries. Let me explain that. For example, if you teach a subject that is in high demand, like chemistry or math, where we actually have some of the highest turnover, because the private sector often steals our math and science and chemistry teachers because of the high demand, and they get more money outside the private sector, then I want to give the flexibility to our superintendents and to our principals to pay those teachers more based upon the market demand. That's the way our system works. When I was a former recruiter in the private sector, some years electrical engineers would make more than civil engineers. And some years a business grad might make more than a liberal arts grad. And some years an accounting grads might make more than an IS grad. We're going to apply the same standards to the teaching profession based upon the market demands for each individual school system. We're bringing the decisions back to the local level and not having all the decisions made in Raleigh. I want to give these men and women flexibility to meet the market forces. Another thing we're looking for is leaders in school. One thing that I've recognized, and I recognize this in a private sector, when I worked for primarily an engineering company, is we had a lot of engineers, Harold, Mr. Chancellor, and the only way you could get promoted in many companies as an engineer is you had to become a manager or supervisor. Well, that often meant the engineer quit doing engineering work, and yet we wanted to reward them for engineering. I think the same thing has often happened in the teaching profession. The only way you can make more money in the teaching profession is become an administrator. Well, I don't think that's right, because some people are born to be a teacher, not necessarily an administrator, and their natural talents, their potential is for teaching. So we're coming up within our plan is if you are a leader in your school and you can mentor other teachers, you can earn more money. Isn't that right? So it shouldn't be just the principal earning more money, but we have an opportunity in this new pay plan where the top teachers can earn more money who are natural leaders in the teaching profession. Also, if you have an advanced degree in the field that you teach and stay in the classroom as opposed to leaving for the private sector or going into administration, our new plan says your pay can be increased. You can make more money. Your salary will increase. If you teach in a hard-to-staff school, you can now get some more money because that's what the market demands and that's where the students need you. This is all about the students and attracting the best teachers we can to help the students. But let me be clear. Let me also make a very clear point, and that is this. If a teacher is not meeting the needs of the students, of other teachers, is not a team member with the principal, and is not showing the results, then that teacher will not get automatic pay increases as they've done in the past. So the criteria are different. This plan encourages and rewards teachers who make the most out of their career and ensures that every student has the chance to fulfill their potential. In terms of the plan specifics, we're going to let more decision making happen at the local level, not inside the Beltline in Raleigh. That's our goal, because it's the people at the local level, closest to the teachers, closest to the parents, closest to the students, that we think can make the best decisions. Now I want to reward individual teachers in the future and make them and encourage them to stay in the teaching profession. And I want to introduce several of them in this room. Is Pam Foster in the room? Pam, I want you to stand up. You've got an incredible background. Pam Foster is a teacher with 9 years of experience at Forest Pines Drive Elementary School in Raleigh, our state capital. She is a nationally board certified teacher, and she teaches 4th grade at her school. On the professional pay schedule and through career pathways, which we want to implement, Pam can earn up to $14,750 more for her years of experience, her national board certification, and for her willingness to mentor other teachers as a teacher leader in her school. Let's give Pam a round of applause. Thank you very much, Pam. Another great example is a teacher like Alton Campbell. Alton, will you stand up? It's great seeing you. Alton is a 6th grade math and science teacher. We desperately need you. It's great to see you, and I want to thank you. I needed you in 6th grade. I need you now at times. You teach at Aiden Middle School in Greenville, great town of Greenville, North Carolina. With 5 years of experience, he is the co-chair of the school improvement team and holds an advanced degree in the field that he teaches. I mean, this is the best of the best. On the professional pay schedule and through career pathways provided by this program, and NC Competes, he currently earns $30,800 a year. But he can now earn up to, if we implement this plan, $12,900 more for being a highly effective teacher in a hard-to-staff school, teaching 2 market-driven subjects and serving as a teacher leader in a school. These are the type of people we need to stay in education. Let's give them a round of applause. Now, one final example is Rebecca Bishop. Rebecca, will you stand up, please? I had the privilege of visiting her 3rd grade class at Franklinton Elementary School in Franklin County. What a great time I had with you and principal. You got a great principal, too. She's so energetic, and I could tell the teachers love her. And she's passionate, and she lobbied me on several of these items when visiting the school, by the way. She is not a passive individual at all. Rebecca has been teaching for 13 years and is a national board certified and has several leadership roles at that school. I noticed the extremely good team effort that you have in your school system. Under career pathways, if we implement this program, she has the chance to make over $20,000 more a year. Doesn't she deserve that? This is what we need. Thank you very much.